All right, we are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. We're live on YouTube, X, and Rumble. I'm here with my special guest, SUZ Robinson, mayoral candidate, looking to be the new mayor of Oakland. If you don't know, there's a special, you should know. If you don't know, now you know. There's a special election, and it is, what's the date again?
April 15th,
April 1 5 and
tax day.
yeah, right. And the mail in ballots, they go out like in a few days, right?
Pretty soon, yeah, I think we're getting there.
Yeah, so thank you. So I'm just going to do a sound check, and I would like to after welcoming everybody to the show. We're live, and Susan's agreed to come on. Doesn't know me. We're strangers going live on the internet, right? I mean, right? It's working. So we just want to have a fun conversation. I'm really interested in the Oakland city race. If you have been following it, it's pretty easy to follow. SUZ in a group of individuals that want to take the mayoral office and make the city better. Everybody's trying to do that. So I wanted to bring Suze on and ask about the vision for Oakland. But before I get into that, you are a wilderness explorer, whitewater rafting expert, survivalist. That scares me just saying those words. Like, you've been doing it for a long time. Talk about that. Like, what is that? Like, the wildest
Yeah,
rivers, right? You said.
yeah, thanks. And it's so great to meet you. I feel like I've known you my whole life and we've only been talking for a couple of minutes. So you have that personality, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank, yeah, thank you for being so welcoming and for having me on this great show and podcast. So, about me, I guess we'll launch right into it. I actually have a day job. I work for a regional business public policy group called the Bay Area Council. It's actually a premier business group for the state.
Okay.
And I've been doing that since 2009. But I have also do whitewater rafting and with
Yes.
an organization called Healing Waters. And we actually work with a lot of addiction recovery clients. And it's kind of like a supplemental program to addiction. And, it's a really incredible program. We take people out on overnight trips and we pick them up right from the city and take them out to the river and they spend the night in the wilderness. So it's more than just a rafting trip. We do a dinner with them, we do circle with them, and then a lot of times they have their own circle just as part of the addiction recovery program. They have their own kind of like program going there. And then I do volunteer rafting guiding. So we take them out on the river and it's just incredible. And the great thing about whitewater rafting is that it really forces you to face your fear a lot. And a lot of your issues come up when you're out on the river
Yeah,
too.
my issues would come up. I'd be praying and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I did it
So,
once,
and
but it wasn't that crazy. But you've done it. You've done some really crazy, I guess, adventures, right?
a lot of crazy adventures outside of working for that organization. I've also, or volunteering there, I also went to Africa on one of the biggest rivers in the world. That was pretty crazy. The
What's the name of that
classified,
river?
the Zambezi River in
Zambezi. Okay, I
Zimbabwe.
would not have been able to pull that out of my head. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, and so there's a saying on that river, it's called face the danger. And I actually use that in my life, where it's like we have to face the danger in life, and when you're on a river, that river only goes one direction. So you got to turn around and face these massive whitewater walls of whitewater, and you got to go right into them. You know what I mean? You can't go
Yeah.
around them. You got to go right into them. And so there's a lot of skills in the sport that really teach you about leadership and how to face fear and how to approach these obstacles because there's ways of getting through the rapids, and if you know how to make these different moves you can make it. So I've learned a lot in the sport, And of course, on the volunteer side, it's been great too, because it's a really great program. The wilderness has an incredible power of healing. And when you use that with a recovery program, I think it's pretty powerful. At least that's been my experience. So thank you for asking that, though.
Well, yeah, earlier as you were talking, I got the chills when you were talking about mixing it with recovery. It just like,
Yeah.
'cause I worked in behavioral health for 10 years. Nobody really knows me, so these are the things that come out. I mean, I guess on the internet, but yeah, and I did work with recovery, behavioral health, job placement, work with folks that are trying to rehab, transition, and getting folks connected with the reality of nature is so huge, especially when we're trapped in these cities and stuff. And speaking of cities, it's beautiful behind you. That's the skyline. It's gorgeous. This is so much fun. And normally I do night interviews. Well, thanks for sharing that. You talked about courage. Is is finding like a center of courage important for you in everyday life, or is it just like the larger challenges, or is it, I have every day I have a mantra, like I read some motivational things every day. Is that what you do, or is it just, okay, we have a big task, let's find that courage? Like, and you mentioned sports, that's connected. Courage and sports, it's connected.
Yeah, I really think that fear is the biggest obstacle we have, and it
Mm.
really keeps us from who we are a lot of times. So whenever I'm afraid of something, I try to go right to it. So
Me
example,
too.
I've become a little bit afraid of sharks. So I'm actually going to go swim with the sharks in Mexico. I've got a trip.
Some
Yeah, I've
people
got a
just
whole
wake up
trip
and go,
planned.
I really am scared of sharks today. I just discovered this. I think we all should be totally scared of sharks. I just want to say, okay, so you've decided I'm going to go swim with sharks?
I'm going to swim with sharks in Mexico, and I've been learning a lot about them, because that's another thing about fear is when you break down what you're afraid of and you start to understand it, you start to lose your fear of it too. So I'm
Sure.
excited to get over that fear, because I do think that fear is an obstacle. And when you are willing to confront these fears in a safe way, you're
Yeah,
really
well, yeah,
moving
yeah.
all
Jumping in
fear.
with sharks. That's pretty much that's
Yeah.
a safe way to tackle your fears. I'm afraid of stray cats sometimes. Like, you never know. So it's well, all right. I like you. We should do more things because you'll get me to the shark level, I'm assuming. So
Let's
not to be
go.
dramatic, but swimming with the sharks. Let's just get down to it. Oakland's a tough place to be in politics. Let's just say, right? You've been involved for years. Let's get into your bio. Okay, so Cal State University degree. Awesome.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
have this is interesting to folks. You have listed yourself as nonpartisan when it comes to the mailer and those kind of things. Important to know. Now, not saying you don't have a political preference, but I'm just saying to folks, you are listed as nonpartisan, which is all mayoral elections are nonpartisan essentially. But that's just the bio on the voter. Do you have any thoughts on that, or is that accurate? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we kind of have to choose a party, I think,
Yeah,
and that resonates. Most people, I think, you pick and choose like what resonates the most with you. And so I'm a registered Democrat, but I
okay,
consider myself nonpartisan, because I think there's a lot broken down in our political system right now. And
yeah,
so when you mention politics, I've worked in politics a long time, and I actually don't like politics that much because of it.
right,
I've really seen a lot of the I've seen a lot of things that have caused me to believe that politics is one of our problems right now. And especially as we move into this AI world, this tech world, the world of data and data selling, that's becoming a big thing in politics, is buying our data. And it's something that I think we all need to become more savvy on, because these issues that we're facing are really big issues that affect us all.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
just think
100%.
that we're entering new territory here, and
Yes,
politics is definitely integrated in that new territory. So I
yeah,
guess I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well said. Well said. And that's important. It boils people look at those things and they make choices on that. So I'm glad we brought that, and also the stuff that I research, I also want to verify with candidates. You never know, right? Now, most of this is from your website because that's the best place to go. And I actually have your website here. Let's see here. There we go. So, guys, follow SUZ at checkout. The website is great, by the way. Tons of information. There's no excuse for someone to not know you after checking out the website. So you were vice president of governance for the Bay Area Council, and
Yes.
yeah, and it's the region's leading public policy organization, very well respected. You've worked with Fortune 500 companies, and you've been a business leader for a number of years. You also served as the chair of the board. I love this for nonprofit supporting LGBTQAI addiction recovery programs. We mentioned that. I think it's. I have relatives that work with the homeless and recovery. It's in my family, yeah, and helping folks, and it's not easy, and it's a lifetime mission. Um, it's not just something you do on the weekends. It becomes who you are, and also working with HIV programs. That's so important. It's so important. And you also volunteered with San Francisco Pride Community Partner Program for many years. And you are so one thing I want to get into. We talked about this. We did a pre-chat, so just full disclosure, everybody. The homeless issue is something you have studied, you have connected with. You are in East Oakland, right? You're a resident of East Oakland. Um,
Um,
I noticed in your bio you said that since 2017 you're committed to public safety improvement after uh, being involved in witnessing a tragic event in your neighborhood. I'm interested if you wanted to get into that. If not, it's all good. But the homeless situation is something I definitely want you to tell the voters about, and what your plan is to try to tackle this. It's a big deal out there in Oakland.
Yeah, and so there's a lot to our homelessness crisis. Really, what we have is a humanitarian crisis of epic proportion, I think. And I think, one of the things I've said in my campaign, which sounds a little harsh, is that we need to end the homelessness housing lie,
Interesting.
which is which
Break
is
that down.
basically yeah, which is basically kind of like we've been told, for 10 years we've been approaching homelessness with housing. And housing is, we have a housing crisis in Oakland and California. Really, most cities around the world have a housing crisis right now. So
True.
we definitely need to build more housing. We're behind on that. But what's happened is I think we've approached homelessness as like, well, all we need to do is put people in a house and that solves our problem. And we've adopted policies of housing with no requirements. The state adopted a policy called Housing First 10 years ago, and they kind of stripped all requirements from housing. And this is a struggle for us now because it essentially kind of defunded recovery housing.
I see.
So a lot of addiction recovery housing kind of died, or it shrunk down to minimal supply for whatever you could privately fund, because state funding wasn't allowed for any housing with requirements, which with addiction requirement, you have to be kind of like clean and sober, or at least California clean and sober. So this has become a problem now because we have a drug addiction crisis. And in
Mhm.
Oakland, it's not just fentanyl in Oakland, it's actually meth and fentanyl. We have a big meth crisis on the streets because people are taking meth to stay awake at night and they quickly become addicted to it. But it helps them keep awake because that's when a lot of bad things happen at night.
Glad you brought that up. I'd never connected it like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so ending the homeless housing lie means that we need to stop lying to ourselves that all people need is a housing unit, when we know that what we're seeing is like that people need a lot more than that. And the other aspect of it is the cost of housing in Oakland is so high to build. It's costing out for permanent supportive housing at over $1 million for one unit of housing. That's like a basic apartment.
That's wild.
Yeah, and it's not just us, it's the Bay
Yeah.
Area cities like ours. And if you think about it, like I mentioned, in one of the debates, like East 12th Street, it took us 10 years to break ground over there. And we're building like something like 97 units of housing. And of those units, 23 or so go to the homeless. So imagine it takes 10 years for 23 units of permanent housing for homeless. This
That's
is just
wild. That's
this is kind
wild.
of like a math problem, right?
It's
It's like,
it's when when you actually talk about it and really dig into it and hear those numbers, it is staggering. So,
yeah.
on that point, the mayor has only certain powers, as we know, if folks have taken a look at the charter. How would you, as the mayor, start to change that trajectory of all this time and the results being so minimal when it comes to housing and homeless?
Yeah, if
Maybe
we
just
just
a
keep
quick
doing what
overview on
we're
how you
doing,
would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, if we just keep on doing what we're doing, I think we know what the outcome's going to be. It's going to be more of what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a couple of pathways available to us on homelessness. First of all, I don't think that our goal should be to put people in housing. I think our goal should be to build an infrastructure that enables people to get well and to get out of poverty. And I think we need to start holding the government accountable for poverty, because poverty is a different thing than just housing people.
Yeah.
And what's happening in other cities is like people are flowing into subsidized housing and they're not flowing out of it. So there's no exit strategy either for people out of subsidized housing and into like wage sustaining jobs and stuff. And that isn't to say that programs aren't going on, but we don't have the right objectives that kind of tie everything together that we're doing either. So we're spreading these resources around. We're telling people we're going to build a house for every homeless person. We know that's probably not going to happen. And then we have all these other things going on, and it's very chaotic. It's not very integrated. So I think one thing we can do is change our objective to build an infrastructure to enable people to get well and get out of poverty, and hold the government accountable for reducing poverty by 25% in X number of years. That creates a very different system. And that's what I love systems management, where you have different independent parts that when you structure them correctly, they start working together and making progress, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't have the right goals and everyone's working in silos on different things that don't tie together, it's going to be hard to make progress. But if we hold the government accountable for the right things, such as building an infrastructure to get people out of this, that infrastructure does include housing. So don't get me wrong, we need to build housing, and we've got a
Sure.
lot of projects going, and we have a lot of opportunity to build more housing. But what it also says is that we've got to get everybody off the streets as fast as possible, because
Yeah.
there is no good outcome out there. Leaving
Yeah.
people on the streets actually causes them to go into what's called chronic homelessness, where they'll probably never get out of this if they're out there too long. So the options available to us are, number one is I'm advocating for a campus model, which there's
Okay.
a group right now that's working on it. And they have these campuses in San Antonio. They have one that's in Reno, and Washoe County built one over the pandemic. They've actually gotten 2/3 of their unsheltered homeless off the streets in a short period of time with this campus model. And it's basically where you take a large swath of property, which we've identified a couple of locations for this, and you can build a very large shelter, and all of your services are on site in one place. And then you kind of surround the shelter in phase 2 and 3 with interim housing and permanent housing right on the campus. And the reason why this is a game changer is because, especially if you're addicted, you're really only clean and sober like a few hours a day. So asking people to run around finding services and things is not really
Not
reasonable.
realistic. Yeah.
And they're getting told no a lot. A lot of them report that they're not getting the help they need. So centralizing everything in one location is going to clean all that up. It's going to create more accountability with service providers and give us a better ability to track results and get better outcomes. So there's a project going on now, and they're raising the capital for this. So if we can raise the capital for it, we could get this thing up and running in 3 years for this one project.
I love it. So, a few questions. One, is there job skills, job placement in this project? Awesome. And then the other question is, how would you raise the capital? We're talking about private funding, Silicon Valley, a major media campaign. Um, talk about that. I love this. This is amazing stuff. It's a great solution.
Yeah, those are great questions. And so one thing is like on the capital side, we're going out to private. There's a group working on this. They've got the A team together, and they're going out to private foundations, high net worth individuals, and also I think, with the right mayor in place for the city, we also need to go knock down the door of the governor too, because we know that a lot is hinging for him on homelessness, and we don't have one of these in California. So having a pretty baked plan in Oakland could be something he would be very interested in helping us with too. So there's opportunity at the state level, I think, to get them interested in this project. So when it comes to operational, because we know Oakland is broke right now or has financial
No,
challenges.
you can say broke. I mean, we're
Right.
talking. They're accidentally putting a memo out saying we're looking at bankruptcy. They're like, "Oh no, sorry, that we didn't mean to say that, but look at the numbers. You meant to say that." So yeah, we have to really say what you just said. Broke, and looking at the next 2 years of doubling down on broke. So okay, just want to put that. It's okay
Yeah,
to say
yeah,
that. We agree.
yeah, fair point. And so the thing is we do have resources to operate this on the county level. There are resources
Okay.
through Proposition One for mental health and housing, and there's also resources through Measure W, and then we also have Measure U for Oakland specifically for housing. So we do have the resources. What people need to understand, and I know we'll get into the budget later, is that we're broke in the general fund. We have like $1.4 billion of restricted funds, of which we have some resources in that for a project like
Okay,
this too.
that's a good delineation. Okay.
But I think the campus model, I think we have to go after this. I mean, this is data driven, results driven. Other cities are doing it. I actually talked to Washoe County over there, their care campus. Their phone is ringing off the hook over there. Other
Sure.
cities are building these now. So
I didn't realize this was a thing, and I think when people find out about it, so I like it. I want to be one of your advisors. Let's talk about it now. I've got a great idea. Do you is in this plan? Do they have primary care? Do they have medical services integrated, or would it be connecting with outside medical services in the community? And if so, could major players in the healthcare market, they got tons of cash. Maybe they might be interested. Is that something that's on the table? Uh, Services like that.
absolutely. The campus model is to centralize everything. And I think also on the cost level, we're spending a lot of money running around kind of managing all of this right now with
Mhm.
our services, police, fire. We're spending tens of millions of dollars doing what we're doing. So think about the cost savings of centralizing and consolidating everything. And then there's definitely a strong health issue. Remember, we're building an infrastructure to enable people to get well.
Yeah.
And the thing about a campus is we're not going to be leaving people in terrible conditions where we know they're only going to get worse while they wait for housing. Because we are going to be building housing, we are going to get more state funding. We're going to keep plowing away at increasing housing supply, but we just can't keep leaving people on the streets for 10 years waiting
Yeah.
for that housing
It-
unit.
yeah. It's not
So
sustainable.
so we would have this whole ecosystem that they would be placed in instead, where they can get the help they need to get well and to work on getting out of poverty. So when we do have a housing unit, it can be used as a tool to help people get out of poverty. And that's really what I want to hold this government accountable for.
I like
We have escalating poverty issues, and they're escalating across the US. I think we had a 13% increase in poverty. this is really what we're seeing on the streets, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at other countries with poverty, addiction is part of that whole cycle, you know. So if we don't start holding the government accountable for poverty and they're just running around building housing, I mean, this isn't going to cut it, you know.
Yeah, I've never heard
And
those words. Somebody saying holding the government accountable for for poverty. That's
right,
powerful. Yeah, the
because
decisions these
where do
governments
people
make.
go?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry to mean to cut you off, but some of these decisions the governments, these governments make at these different levels, do not realize that it does impact poverty in a lot of cases, or keeps people in poverty.
Yeah, and where's the ladder out? You know, like
Yeah.
if all we're doing is running around building housing units, and look, we are doing other things is the thing, but because it's not integrated, we can't really track how we're doing. Are we make, you know, what are we doing here? It's very
Yeah,
chaotic.
and the barrier to accessing these services has to become, it has to get lower. Clearly, we develop all these systems and services, and they create sometimes too much bureaucracy or barriers, and it's tough for people. So I like this integrated, holistic approach. It's cool. Now, have you guys? You were saying earlier there's possible targets for like real estate for this. Do you have a couple of places out in the city limits, or
We
would it be
do.
outside the city? Okay, and you don't have to give away your
Yeah.
plan. You don't have to tell us where it's at, because people are going to
It's
watch this
so
and go, they're like,
right. I know.
everybody you're
It's
running against is like, I'm writing this down. You know,
the
that's a good plan,
the
man. It's
other
one of
thing
the
is it's
coolest things
like
I've heard.
these real estate deals can get very complicated, you know,
Sure,
and they require a process. So we definitely have at least two options. One of them is an easy option that we could get set up in 3 years and we could make incredible progress. And that's going on right now. And so that's what I'm saying. As mayor, you have access to be able to help them raise that capital by calling people and like raising more
sure.
awareness and really driving it home. So we do have a couple of opportunities to build this here, and I think we just need to do it. You know, I mean, it's crazy. California spent the money that we've spent, and we don't even have a single one of these in our state, even right.
Well, and I really appreciate your approach of just fiscal sensibility and results based, outcomes. It's people just, they read the news, they see what now, they see what's online. People have no clue that, I shouldn't say it that way, but most people don't, I guess, understand that a narrative can be driven on social media and within 24 hours and can be a game changer for folks, right? And it could affect how policy decisions are made. Now, dumping is a huge issue too. In fact, it comes up in the debates. I didn't realize it's such a crisis. So, do you consider the homeless situation and the dumping hand in hand, or does one make the other worse? Is it is it more? Do they? How do you how do you how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that, you know, I think what has happened in Oakland is we've allowed these ecosystems of crime and dumping and like all kinds of things to kind of grow. And I think it's really become a place where other people drive their trash to these ecosystems and dump off because they think it's an easy way to get rid of their stuff, their trash, you know? So I've definitely seen people who I
Yeah,
suspect may not even be from our city drive up to homeless encampments in $80,000 pickup trucks and dump off garbage there. I've seen that, you know?
yeah. That's why I was asking. Is there some sort of a correlation?
Yeah, but I think that the same thing with crime, right? I mean, we have organized criminal operations using homeless encampments for cover, basically, and they're running things out of these encampments. We also have an issue with a highly addicted population that can also be preyed on
Yeah.
because it's easy to get them to do things if they're desperate for money for, you know,
Yeah.
drugs. And so
Yeah,
that's
they
another
can take the
issue too,
fall.
right?
Yeah, they take the fall for these larger criminal figures, and we have to be honest. Yeah, there's some organized crime, and they do take advantage of these populations that are vulnerable.
Yeah. So when it comes to illegal dumping, I mean, number one is we do need to get everybody off the streets of the city. Look, I'm going to tell you something. I've seen things on the streets that give me nightmares. You know, I see people's faces; they're seared into my mind. So It's not even a choice for me. If I'm elected, I'm getting people off the streets. There is no good outcome for people out there.
No.
And in Oakland, we really care about these people. This isn't about sweeping people off the streets. This is about helping people. And I truly believe, especially with the campus model, it's not the only option, but with the campus model, and as someone who's studied healing a lot in my life, having an ecosystem that's about healing and health and wellness and getting out of poverty, all the energy is there for you. And
Yeah.
it's just easier. Like, it's just easier to get well when you're in an environment that supports that. So I do believe in dignity first in how we treat this population. However, having worked with a highly addicted population, I do understand that there are things that are difficult with this population. And we need people helping us who run recovery homes or former addicts, because it's hard. There's things that you have to do policy wise with addicts that can be very difficult.
Yeah.
I will say that. And I think it's one of Oakland's problems is we love people so much in Oakland that we've become enablers in a lot of ways. And that's not a good way of approaching an addicted population, right?
Yeah, I
I'm sure
think
you
it's
get that.
yeah, I think it's an inflection point. I think there were a lot of decisions made and policies made in the past that were good, well-meaning policies and were positively effective, but something is not working. And now there's some serious, there's safety crisis, homeless crisis, budget crisis, and one of the most interesting problems that I'm blown away by, and I'm going to call you an expert in it because these are my words, but the chase, was it non pursuit policy in Oakland, which is, can I say it's bananas? It really is. It's bananas. I want to tell everybody that's watching this, they need to go to your campaign website and check it out. And also you're on YouTube. And on YouTube, you have a couple of videos. And one of the videos, you're at the police station, or both of them, I think, or at least one of them. And you splice in a video of somebody, they committed a crime, and I guess the police, you'll have to break this down better than what I'm saying, is they were called off the chase because I guess it didn't qualify. So this person came back and they were doing donuts in front of the police and driving in between and scraping just mocking essentially the police. And you splice, the way you present it is incredible. Like, you watch it, you're like, there's no question there's a problem here. Um, what can the mayor do? Obviously, there's no. We all know what the problem is. So forward thinking, right? We know that under the powers of the charter, the mayor doesn't necessarily run the police department, but there's a police commission the mayor works strongly with. You're very well versed in the commission. Everybody. You know the problem inside and out. And after what I've seen with all the other candidates, I kind of feel like you know it better than all of them. Not, I'm just saying, because you talk about it actually, and they don't. And that kind of stands out to me when there's one person talking about a thing that is kind of like on the nose. They know what the problem could be. So that was kind of a clunky way to get to the question. I'd talk about, like, what can we do to fix I talked to Seneca and like really important figures in Oakland that are activists. Everybody says this is just bananas. Like, how do we get past this? Even the mayor, I'm sorry, the governor did a thing about it, and like nothing's changed. So how, if you're elected, how can, well, first articulate the problem with your point of view, and then tell us, how do we go about fixing this? I mean, it's clearly creating more
Yeah.
problems. I mean, I
Yeah.
was like, wait, maybe I should. It's that easy. Maybe I should. Maybe I should look at, like, really. I could see how somebody, they're a career criminal, they're like, Oakland's the place, man.
It's crazy. I just talked to Derek Suhu, who's a homeless advocate, and he's actually homeless. And he was robbed, and they had all these things happen to him, and the police came and just stood there watching the people that had beat them up and robbed them run, and they did nothing because of the pursuit policy.
So it's
And
even on
so
foot pursuit, not just vehicle. I didn't really look at it that way. It's just any kind of pursuit.
Well, that's, I guess, how they're interpreting it, but there's other issues. But well, listen, the pursuit policy is just an example of like how long it's taking for to make basic public safety decisions. The police chief could change that pursuit policy in a couple of weeks if he wanted to. And this is the problem that we have in
It's that
Oakland right
easy.
now.
It's that easy to
Yeah,
change?
he can change it. The former police chief changed the police pursuit policy. He doesn't have to go through the process that he wants to go through. And the thing that we have right now is public safety has been so politicized in Oakland that our both our elected leaders and our police chief, and they don't want to have the decision making on them, because if anything goes wrong and there's an accident, people are going to point to them about it. And so what they're doing is they're constantly dumping decision making onto these citizen led committees. The police commission, for example, that's a committee that is comprised of volunteer citizens.
Okay.
And they're not just regular citizens, they have different backgrounds, but they're volunteer citizens. So what we're seeing happen beyond public safety is because Oakland has 40 committees and commissions like this right now. It's really out of control.
You said
And
four
what
zero?
40, yeah. And by the way, they're all managed by full-time benefited staff members and stuff like that too. So imagine the cost of that.
Right.
And what
That's
they're
yeah. People don't talk about that, the amount of money being spent on staff and stuff like that. But go ahead.
And what they're doing, and it's playing out in the police pursuit policy, is instead of just making decisions like we hired them for or elected them for, they're dumping it onto these citizen committees. And then the committees, like, well, the commission decided not to do anything. And that made the public very angry and the governor, and that caused a whole thing. But so, the point is that we need to change the policy. It's the most extreme in the United States of America. Even if we make the changes that have been proposed to it, which they're really proposing to allow our officers to chase for felonies instead of just violent felonies. And there's a clause that is causing a lot of problems where they actually have to get their manager to approve the chase.
Yeah.
So, I mean, imagine trying to call your manager and it's
But
like, hey, can you get so and so on the phone? Yeah, sure, I'll hold while
no,
these
they're
guys
on
run away in a
Microsoft Teams.
car.
Can you DM them?
I mean,
What?
yeah,
They're in
sure,
another
I'll
meeting.
wait.
Sorry.
No
Uh,
problem. Yeah. And then, what's the point? So they don't
it's
even
it's
bother.
people watching this are going, well, they're just having a good time, but it's preposterous. Like it's really like what a now I understand. Okay, I get it. I understand aggressive police. Nobody wants that. Too much aggression. I get that. But if you have zero activity, there's no point. And I understand the police. It's dangerous. It's a tough job. I don't know what it takes, so I don't want to be that guy. But it seems to me when someone that's committing a crime mocks the police, does donuts in front of them, that's kind of like low hanging fruit. Maybe we should, that's kind of the job, right? I mean, is it
It's
too simple to look at
crazy.
that? Am I missing something?
The other thing is it's very demoralizing for people in the community to watch that. And they're already, feeling the impact of crime and violence, and they're watching our police officers do nothing. That's a terrible thing for morale, like the way communities are feeling right now. So, well, look, the police chief has outlined a plan that's going to take 2 years. He wants to go out to voters because San Francisco did that. And it's like we're in the middle of one of the worst public safety crises. My point is he can change the policy right now. And he can also go through a process of going out to voters too. He can do that too.
Sure.
There's nothing that says we can't do both of those things. But why, so when you ask like, well, what can the mayor do about it? I mean, the mayor
Yeah.
can light a fire under what these people's what's, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the mayor can call them in, can have strong conversations. The mayor can go out to the public. What's different about me than other candidates is I'm not really a politician. I'm here for my community, and I'm not afraid to go after issues like this that are crazy. I mean, in no way should we have not already changed that policy. It's absolutely unbelievable.
It's a
And it's not the
nonpartisan
only thing.
discussion. Yeah, it's there's no left or right on it. It's safety. It's real.
Yeah, and if they want someone to take the hits, I'm happy to stand in front of them too, right? If they're scared and they're scared of people getting mad at them, I'm happy to stand in front of them. Let me be the one that takes the bullets. I don't mind if it's for the best, if it's in the best interests of everyone concerned. And so that's one thing. But look, I think what's important about the pursuit policy is this is a pattern. So I'm trying to kind of explain what's going on with these committees. And these are basically politicians and leaders that are trying to take cover behind citizens. So they don't have to be accountable at election time for their choices, right? I mean, leadership is about making decisions. You can't be in a position of leadership without making a decision. If I was in the guide seat in a boat going down a river towards whitewater and I just sat there and did nothing, we would be in a whole lot of trouble. I mean, you got to make decisions, quick decisions. You got to call out commands. You got to move. You got to do stuff, or you're in trouble. And what we're seeing in Oakland is this whole pattern where they're taking cover behind these citizen committees. And then if anything goes wrong, they can just say, oh, the citizens are responsible. The, the,
Now,
the voters did it.
is it not? Is it more? Yeah, right. Now, is it more non-elected people or elected people, or a combination that you're saying are just pulling back and going, okay, well, we're gonna not do anything. What's the systemic a part of that?
I think with public safety, it's kind of both because the issues around public safety are so politicized and people are very divided on that issue in a lot of ways too. We've got people in Oakland that kind of they don't like the police. They're very distrustful. And then we have other people that are upset because they want more police. So we have this thing going on in Oakland, and I think from a leadership standpoint, it's really important to understand like the people that don't like police have reasons for that. And we shouldn't just, because we're in a crisis right now, we can't just pretend like there aren't reasons for the fracture.
Yeah,
Like
that's
we,
true.
we have to kind of get underneath this and we have to work to build trust with one another because it's one of the reasons we have in Oakland why our public safety is always front and center, right? It's always being attacked.
Yeah.
So I think we have to address this head on. Like I said, you got to confront the issues directly and you've got to get underneath it and we got to figure out how we can move forward.
Well, it
And
affects the budget, in my opinion, because it affects tax revenues. Because people move out, and that's part of the
yeah,
issue. Because if they're like, "Hey, this is not safe, and we're not protected," look. It's a great place to live. I love Jack London Square. There's so many places I love. Right, San Francisco's. There's so many great places to live. You can pick them. You can decide to move out. Especially the sports teams have left. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's more incentives to leave than to stay, which has been part of the crisis. So people are wondering, hey, how does this affect me? It affects the budget. It affects revenues because you're not increasing, you're only decreasing with these revenues.
public safety has collapsed our city. I'm telling you, it's caused families to flee Oakland. They don't want to raise their kids in a place where they don't feel safe. It's caused a business collapse in our city, and businesses are leaving, and they're also shrinking because their employees don't feel safe.
Right.
So
In and out left, Denny's is shut down, I believe. And then, oh yeah, Steph Curry's wife.
Steph Curry's wife, In and Out, the things that went on there at In and Out.
She left. Yeah,
Crazy.
right. Now, if I was running a debate, the first thing I'd say is one of the most famous basketball players of all time and celebrities, his wife can't even run a business in Oakland, according to her. Again, this is alleged. Okay, I wasn't there, but she's made it very public. So, what would you do as the mayor to attract, the sports teams have left. It's kind of the cool thing about Oakland is you had some, back in the day, you had a lot of cool sports folks. You had great music. I mean, it's right. I mean, it's like I, oh, Northern California people, easy to get to Oakland. There's always something going on. That has dried up. How would the mayor of Oakland, obviously a great position, visible, right? How would you, as the mayor, flip the switch on that and say, "Hey, we're making changes. Come back to our city. This place rocks." How would you do that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. You know, we have an opportunity with this special election to change the brand of our city because we've been ripped up in the national press too, and that's not helping us either. And so we got to change our city brand. We have a very anti-business brand here. And it's like before the pandemic, Bay Area cities in general haven't had to work that hard at business because businesses were always lined up, to be
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
And now we are in uncharted territory. Okay. Now we have to do what other cities and states have been doing a long time, compete. So we're going to have to compete for business. And I don't think this city understands that because I'm frustrated watching our businesses get stolen by neighboring cities. Castro Valley, Emeryville, they're stealing our businesses from us.
Palo Alto, yeah.
Palo Alto, San
Let
Francisco.
let me just
And
jump
so,
in. I'm sorry. Something that came.
no, no,
Remember
that's good.
Kevin Johnson, mayor of Sacramento, years ago? He pushed, mayor of Sacramento, very ceremonial, not a lot of powers, but he pushed and campaigned for years to get an arena for the Sacramento Kings. They said he couldn't do it. He was just a mayor. He got it done. Now he left office before it was finished. But so I'm just saying something huge like that, the mayor of Oakland could spearhead and could do. It could happen.
Look, I'm ready to fight to get sports back in Oakland. I mean, I want to say I was part of an effort with Ronnie Lott to try to save the Raiders. That was a bloody, bitter battle and a really hard pill to swallow when we lost the
Yeah.
Raiders because we
Yeah.
were there with Ronnie and Marcus Allen, and people were really trying to save them. And I was also on an organization called Town Biz that established to try to save the A's too. So it's very frustrating, like I think that we could talk for an hour about why we lost our sports teams. There's a lot of reasons for it. It's not just one thing. However,
Yeah.
after we lost the Raiders, unfortunately, public sentiment was pretty sour on professional sports, and it was very hard to get people motivated. And I think that's what sets that issue apart from like the Sacramento Kings because they had their community rallying. And
That's a
I
good point.
think yeah, and I think it was a tough climate, but there's a lot of other reasons why that failed. Another reason, I don't think the A's really believed we had the money, we had that we could
Yeah.
pay our fair share and we could go on and on with it. But I'm
Well,
I'm ready to get pro sports back, okay?
I mean,
Because
not that that was like something I was gonna try to spearhead with you, but I thought, hey, man, because you really have the vision. Like see, this is something I could say to you versus maybe not some other candidates. No judgment, but you actually picked up what I was putting down. Like you're like, hey, plus the people are the heartbeat of Oakland was the A's and the Raiders, man. The greatness of the Raiders. Obviously, I'm a big sports fan. I do a lot of sports stuff too as well. So it's on my mind. But let's just say put the sports aside, something else huge the mayor could do. Like there are huge things in the arts and economically the mayor could do. So we're about at an hour. I got one more thing. I really appreciate you so much, and I hope the voters appreciate you sitting down and just pouring out your vision. And this has been a really great interview. One last thing I want to bring up, and I want to value your time. Thank you for doing this. Is let's talk about the budget. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the budget crisis. Obviously, everyone knows the numbers. The numbers fluctuate. You could Google and figure it out. So I don't want to belabor things that people know. Do you want to share your plan to tackle this shortfall?
Yeah. So, first of all, we don't have a business plan. So, our business plan in Oakland expired 5 years ago. So, you can't expect to get revenue up if you don't have a plan to get revenue up. So, unfortunately, Oakland only sees revenue as taxation. And I don't see it
Yeah,
that way. I see that we have a revenue problem in the city. If
that's a
you
good point.
lost your job and revenue wasn't coming in, you got to figure out how to keep the lights on here. So, we got to get our revenue up. So, I'm going to get a business competitiveness plan together. I'm going to appoint a chief of economic development and housing. I think we have to own in the mayor's office business and tourism initiative. And I think we've got to catalyze a citywide housing production. We've got an opportunity with all these empty office buildings to adopt a program to incentivize downtown to office residential conversion projects. And there's legislation that Phil Ting put forward on this to exempt projects from inclusionary housing requirements. So this is a good way to create these special financing districts that are
Mhm.
going to revitalize our economy and also solve the empty commercial real estate crisis, or the commercial real estate crisis with these buildings. But we also need to work with employers whose leases are expiring and to get new business back. I think there's opportunity for tax incentives. So, like, try to get employers to call their employees back to the office by waiving gross receipts taxes. Hey, if you get your employers back here 4 days a week, we'll give you 50%, or 5 days a week, we'll waive all the gross receipts taxes, because that's a revenue plan where sometimes you have to give up money in one place to get money in another place. And when you give up a little bit here and you get employees down here on the retail side pumping up our businesses, we get a portion of that from sales tax, parking. That all kind of fits into a plan where you've got to map it out. What do we have to give up to get on the other side? And then you're creating a longer term sustainability factor with getting more people into the downtown core. So the other things we can do is, like, we can give a rebate on new lease renewed businesses and sales taxes, maybe for 5 years for new retail food or entertainment businesses, to try to get more of those back in. And so there's a lot of different things that we can do in a business plan to kind of map out how this all is going to play out. But if you don't have a plan to get revenue in, you're not going to get any new revenue. Okay.
Yeah,
And it's like,
you're speaking my language because I went through the last three budgets and I'm like, they're only making money through essentially taxing people and fines and real estate taxes. And then so the market goes down, people move out. No wonder. I mean, maybe it's not that easy, but
it's crazy. I mean, I feel like Oakland suffers from, like, being San Francisco's ugly stepsister. And it's like
yeah,
all they're
yeah.
really all
I
they're
saw you
really
said that.
doing
Yeah.
is like all they're really doing is like waiting around for San Francisco to recover, and they're going to tax everyone in the meantime. And it's like, when you look at what's going on here, we have all the problems San Francisco has, okay? I mean, they have almost $1 billion budget deficit. We have a budget crisis. They have public safety. So we've been just doing whatever San Francisco does for a long time. And my vision for this future is not just to stew in the problems, but to get away from San Francisco and realize our own unique identity. So that's
Right.
why I talk about recruiting businesses that reflect our identity in these office spaces, clean, green, new economy businesses, selling them on a vision that, hey, we're making a move here. We're separating ourselves from San Francisco. We're going to own our identity and become a world-class destination city. We've got a lot of assets in Oakland, right? We've got
Yeah.
waterfront real estate. We've got incredible cultural and historical districts, a natural lake in the middle of town. And we've got all these East Bay regional parks. And it's like watching people leave Oakland for some 120-degree hellscape in Las Vegas is a bitter pill to swallow, right? It's like,
Yeah.
go to
Right.
Las Vegas in the summertime and they can't even go outside. It's so hot there, right? It's like,
Yeah, and these things that happen with businesses moving out, sports teams moving out, it was telegraphed. People knew for years this was occurring. And this is something that no one really had an answer. But now, okay, we're rebooting and it's a fresh start. And I really love where you're coming from. Yeah, Oakland is a worldwide brand. There are worldwide businesses that have come out. I love the idea of you saying change the brand, right? Or the efforts to change the brand. Um, Now, the mayor would have to get the council obviously on board with a lot of these things. How do you feel about that and collaboration with the council? Because it's like 8 votes and the mayor's a tiebreaker, right? What are your thoughts on collaboration? And I know we're wrapping up, but I just wanted to throw that one out there.
yeah, that's a great question. I think because we're in a crisis everybody is working together. And it's a very rare opportunity in Oakland. That's why I think this is our time to build the future, right? I mean, you have to be opportunistic and see, like, whoa, we're never going to be able to get everyone working together like this. When
Right.
when the economy is good, people don't work together. Okay, they do their thing, they backstab, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But
Yeah.
right now, everybody has an appetite to work together because we're in a major situation. And so it creates a very compelling opportunity for this city to make big moves on how we build our future, right? And I think if we can not just wallow in our problems all the time, we know what the problems are, but we have to set a vision for the city on where are we going? What are we doing here, right? And I mean, and stop waiting around to be overflow housing for San Francisco and just get away from that.
Not
I
going to
mean,
happen. Yeah.
yeah, let's just become our own city and get away from all that and stop following everything San Francisco does. It's kind of led us to this point, to be honest, because San Jose doesn't have this kind of business collapse happening. They have problems over there, but not to the extent that we do.
That's a
And it's
great point.
because we do everything San Francisco does and it's not benefiting us.
Well, I love that. And and I'll just say, as we're talking, you believe in what you're saying, and you have thought it out, and you're passionate. And that's why I was excited to do this, because I wanted people, hadn't really spoken to you, but I had seen enough video to know you were passionate. And I wanted to help bring that with my platform, bring that to folks. um Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got excited with what you were saying about the brand and the vision and collaboration. I do believe that somebody with a vision has to be able to uh, be a collaborator, and it sounds like that you are. One thing I'll say that I'm noticing is that we haven't once talked about anything that is in the past, or we haven't brought up, it hasn't been, we haven't talked about anybody but your campaign, right? And that is refreshing, and I want people to notice that. And sometimes a city needs new, fresh ideas, and not, I guess the best way to say it is rebooting, not rebooting, but refiring up. So um, now I'm at the end of my questions. This is amazing. Now I could talk to you forever. I would love to. I'd love to in the future talk about other stuff. I want to give you the last word. What did we miss anything? Is there something that you want the voters to know about you, that we've captured them, what they're watching this? I'll give you the last word to the voters on your campaign.
Yeah, well, what I was thinking as you were talking is that I think politics is really killing us. I mean, having been in it so long, we need to get off the script here, okay? I mean, following along a broken narrative, a machine that doesn't tell the truth or half truths or particles of truth. It's like, we need to get off of this, okay? And I think that's what my focus is I think politics is a big part of the problem. And I'm willing to go out on a limb for this city and not do this anymore. We've got to tackle these issues and make progress. And we have to be honest about what is or isn't working and not try to hide that in narratives and different things. And it's like, if something doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Don't try to sell that to people like don't try to manipulate them into believing something makes sense that doesn't make sense. And I think that's what we're seeing in politics, especially in Oakland. It's like, we're looking at these things and we can't connect the pieces together. It doesn't make sense what we're doing. We're taking 2 years to make decisions. Somebody just signed off on an 18-month plan to update technology that's keeping our police officers in their cars half the time. I mean, who would sign off on that? That makes no sense, right? But so we got to get out of this upside down world where we're just like believing this is how the world should be because that's the political construct that we're being sold. And it's like, I'm not going to be sold that. When it doesn't make sense, let's just call it out. This is crazy. What are we doing this for? We don't have to keep on doing what we've been doing because that's the way the machine is created. It's like, let's rip it up and make it work better for us. I guess those are my parting shots.
Well, I love that. And you're speaking to people how they speak to others. We're just talking about reality, and we don't have to do it like we did it before. I love that. That's a great perspective. Well, Suze, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap with you. You have a very busy day, and I want to give you your time back. Almost exactly an hour. That's crazy. Um, you are a really fun person to have a conversation with, and you're doing some crazy stuff. Swimming with sharks, trying to be a mayor of rough and tumble Oakland. You want to bring back sports teams. I mean, you want to fix the police. It's
Oh.
ambitious. That's what we love. I really hope that you're able to reach more folks. Anytime you want to come on and do a podcast in the future, let me know. I do want
Yeah, let's do
anything
it.
you're working on. Anything you're working on.
Let's
Let's
tackle some of these issues on your show. I think it would be fun to have maybe more than just me on and tackle one of these big issues together, right?
let's
Let's
do it.
talk about it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, let's bring
Thank
some.
you.
I can have actually up to 9 people. That's why I'm using
Right.
this. Yeah, there's a lot of folks don't realize a lot of these streaming applications to do podcasts do not allow you to add in multiple viewers unless it's more complicated. And I want to keep it simple, so we can do up to 9 people. That's a lot of people, but let's do it. Let's do a
Yeah, let's do
roundtable. I
it.
appreciate that. So before I let you go, I have your information where folks can communicate with you. They need to go to your website. Also, let's see here. We've got, let me take this. Oh, whoops. I've got the other. Okay, here we go. And then you're on Oaktown, okay, Town Biz on X. And your YouTube, is it Suze Robinson on YouTube? And if you just Google Suze Robinson Oakland, you're going to find everything that you need to communicate. And I also want to say very quickly, you are the fourth candidate that I've asked to come on, and two of them kept rescheduling. One dropped out of the race, and one just declined after scheduling 3 times. So I want people to know every candidate has an opportunity to come aboard my podcast, and just in all fairness, because if a candidate watches this, I want them to know, so they're welcome, because I want the voters to meet everybody as much as I can help them meet. So thank you. Have a great day, and Suze, I really appreciate you. We'll stay in touch, and thanks for joining the Jason J.
Thanks,
Daniels
Jason.
Show. Good luck, and I'm
Yeah,
looking
thank
forward
you.
to I'm looking forward to following the campaign. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Well, guys, that was awesome. I had Suze on. I have to say, that conversation brightened my day. That conversation brightened my day. What a great candidate. It's exciting. People are really interested in the Oakland election. It's an important election. And what you may not realize is there's a real short window of time to campaign. That's why I'm offering my platform. I do a lot of different stuff, human behavior stuff. We talk about, sports, and I've been doing a lot of Oakland on my podcast only because Oakland's a very important city, and I have a lot of good friends in the area and in Oakland, and I love Oakland. Oh, sorry, my phone's going off. Apologize, guys. I'm so busy, but I want you to know that I will continue to try to bring on as many candidates as I can. The election is April the 15th in Oakland. Check out my YouTube channel. Let's see here. Please subscribe. If you're watching this on Rumble, please subscribe. Just punch that subscription. If you're on YouTube, just subscribe to me. It's huge. It really does a lot for me, and I appreciate that. If you're on X, please follow me on X. We're also going to start on Facebook and Twitch and some other places we're going to stream. If you're looking to follow me, if you're not watching me on X, I am His Grace to Go Targaryen on X, Jason J. Daniel. That's one of my nicknames. You can ask me and I'll tell you about it later. And let's see here. And you can also follow me everywhere on social media, Jason J. Daniel, pretty much on every app. Some of them I've had to adjust it, but there aren't many Jason J. Daniels, so you can find me if you're interested. If you want to see I have some other Oakland political interviews. You can check that out on all of my platforms. So that being said, I want to say thank you for all of your attention today, and good luck to all the candidates. and have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching the Jason J. Daniels Show. Bye now.